Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
We're so glad to have you join us today on West Texas View. This is the second in our series, our continuing series about the Samaritan Counseling Center. You're going to have to forgive me because I've still got laryngitis. But our guest today is Katie Mathis, and she's a licensed professional counselor and is doing her internship in children's services at the Samaritan Counseling Center. Katie, it's so good to visit with you today and have you tell us a little bit about yourself before we start talking about your work at the Samaritan Counseling Center.
Okay, well, thanks, Johnny. It's great to be here. I recently moved from the DFW area from Dallas-Fort Worth, and I was working at a refugee resettlement agency with children and families, and we did a lot of things like support groups and case management and things like that for families and for kids, and I was looking to come back to the West Texas area. It's where I'm from originally, and family is here, and I was drawn to Samaritan Counseling because of their faith-based services, as well as their focus on children and families in particular. So I'm so happy to be there and to.
Well, is it more difficult to work with children than it is adults, or is it? Are you? It looks like there would be some uncomfortableness about that.
Well, let me tell you why. For me, I find it's very fulfilling and comfortable, and it's my passion. One reason it's comfortable for me is just seeing that children have the same ability and the same capacity to process and work through their struggles and their grief and their emotions that adults do. They just do it through play rather than through talking. And one thing that makes Samaritan different from other counseling centers is that we have a playroom that's equipped with all the things that children feel comfortable doing and playing with and expressing themselves. And in that playroom, we have everything from a sand tray and like a puppet show set up. We have a kitchenette and all kinds of toys. We have art supplies and painting and almost anything you can imagine. And so that gives kids a chance to express themselves and to work through their struggles. And so, so it's a great place to be.
And one of the great advances in child counseling is play therapy, and one of the things is that the parents get to observe. Is that right?
Parents can observe. Oftentimes it's better for the child to be able to have that time to process on their own and to be able to express themselves without fear or concern about what their families are seeing. And oftentimes it may not even be fear, but it may be the child feels the need to protect their parent from what they're working through. And so if the parent is present, then sometimes it can limit the child because he or she may not feel safe to express the fullness of their anger or their sadness. And so we do have an opportunity for parents to watch, but it may not always be best for the child. And so we can tell that to the parents and let the parents make that decision.
Did you use this technique with your refugees in the DFW area?
Well, we did not have a playroom, and so we didn't have the
you were limited
the same resources we were, but we did as much as we could to work with kids to help them to play and spend time with each other and outside, and to be active and involved with their families and their communities, and to help the parents remember to let the children be children, to go to the park, play outside, be creative. And
well, one of the things I wonder, because as an educator, it's different to teach adults than it is to teach children. Is it different to counsel children than it is to counsel adults?
Yes, it's different in the sense that children process their thoughts and emotions through play rather than through talking. That's probably the biggest difference.
So they're more comfortable in that arena, and they will then open up more than someone that you just sit down in a chair and try to talk to them.
Yes, well, play is how they communicate. So as they're playing, they actually are communicating, and so and sometimes they do share and talk, and so sometimes it can be a combination
And I think probably the area that most people are familiar with play therapy is in cases of incest or sexual abuse or something where they've used dolls to tell the story or something like that.
And that is certainly one area, but all children who have ever experienced a difficulty in their lives, a friend moves away or the loss of a family member, bullying, a divorce, the loss of a grandparent, all of these things can be communicated and expressed and worked through in the playroom and through play and through creativity, and so it can be anything that is difficult for a child in his or her life.
And you know, you think back to a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old child, and you think, what can they possibly absorb from this divorce or this death or all these other things? And it's amazing how much they do just absorb, and much of it is not realistic.
That's true. There's oftentimes times that children will take responsibility for things that happen through magical thinking, that they will think that their bad thoughts or their words caused something tragic that didn't happen, and so they will carry guilt for something that isn't their responsibility.
And so how do you break through the barrier to get them to play and to talk?
Well, it's breaking through the barrier to get them to play is fairly easy. It's opening the door and letting them into the playroom and showing them that this is their special time to do what they want to do, and very rarely do children hold back. And if they do, then we're there to guide them and let them see that it's okay. And
well, the progress that's been made, or the advancement in children's counseling has just been amazing, even in the short time you've been in it. We're going to have to take a break, but we're going to come back in just a minute and continue this conversation, because we have so much more that we want her to tell us about, particularly about child counseling, but also counseling in general. We'll see you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.